Sounds of cutting wood after midnight. I will try to be as specific as possible writing down this story. Although being new to this kind of thing, I do not specifically know what details are important and which ones aren't, so excuse me if it's too long. I live in a very old house, originally built somewhere at the end of the 1800s. The house has been renovated since, and 2 new rooms were added in addition to the original house that had only 1 room. That 1 room, the oldest one, is now my bedroom, and it used to belong to my great-grandparents. We have a front and back porch, as well as a pretty big vegetable garden surrounding the house. My grandparents used to have pigs, chickens, and rabbits, and behind the house, there was a big shed for animals, and housework that needed to be done outside, and tools, etc. I remember that a couple years ago, my father got some firewood for a very cheap price, and decided to convert the fireplace in his and my mother's bedroom into a wood-burning fireplace. That wasn't very practical, as it somehow made too much smoke. But that winter they still used up the wood. My father used to always chop the tree stumps he had into smaller pieces for firewood behind the house. He had an old-looking bigger stump on which he'd place the wood to be chopped. So the sound of chopping pieces of wood that are placed on another piece of wood is somehow distinctly in my memory. A couple months ago, maybe half a year ago, I started staying up until late night or early morning to study for finals. On one occasion, after midnight, not right after, I do not recall checking the time, but it was really late. I heard a couple of knocks that seemed to be coming from outside. As I was typing away on my computer, the typing also makes a kind of knocking sound, but I wasn't sure that I actually heard something or not. So I stopped typing, and I heard it again. A couple of times. It reminded me of the noise I heard when my father used that stump to chop wood. The knocks weren't loud, but you could hear them, and they were coming from the direction of my window, which is right next to your backyard and the shed. The knocks lasted for about 10 to 20 seconds, approximately 2 seconds apart from each other. The pause between each was pretty much the same on every occasion, similar to a clock. But the pause lasted 3, maybe 4 seconds. I don't recall this happening every night, but I also very often spend a couple nights at my boyfriend's place, so I'm not at home every night. However, I do recall hearing this repeatedly, maybe 5 or 6 times on different days, and no, I never opened the window because it's dark and there's no light there, so I couldn't see anything anyway, and I was kinda scared. Since then, I've read somewhere that there's this thing called residual haunting, where the repeated actions of a deceased person somehow stay in the home, and others can see or hear them. I have no idea whether this is true at all, or true in my case. I just thought since my great-grandfather, great-grandmother, and my grandfather, all 3 of them died, we're all basically farmers that chop wood on a regular basis, it is a plausible explanation. Hope you could understand this. I am happy to hear additional questions if you have any, and I would really love some more insight on this. Midnight Coughing Ghost. Myself and my partner have just moved into a lovely semi-detached brick house in a cute street in Melbourne, Australia. I've always been hyper-aware of supernatural beings and haven't had any negative experiences yet. We moved into this house around a month ago, and the vibe was, quote, dark and negative. I was also seeing shadows in the corner of my eye, bad dreams, and an all-around bad feeling. So I did a sage cleanse, and after that, The house feels great, a much lighter feeling, and pleasant dreams. But for the last 3 evenings, I've heard a man coughing in my lounge room when I've been in bed reading. Always quite late this occurs, and my partner has been asleep, so she hasn't heard it. It's a rather brief cough, and it's definitely a male. It's almost like he's clearing his throat while reading the paper, very casual if you might say. I got 2 cats. They both wear bells on collars, and they sleep in the lounge room and also in my room at night. But last night, they were in the lounge room when I heard the cough again. I heard both of my cats' bells jingle like they were startled, but were obviously not fazed and fell back asleep. I'm a firm believer in cats being a type of medium, and I trust their observations. Basically, I'm curious. I'm wondering if this is a spirit that was previously living in the house a long time ago, as it's an old Victorian-style design. I don't feel threatened at all. It's oddly comforting, really. I'm just curious as to know why it's just a cough I'm hearing, and not words or movements, and if anyone else has something similar occur. Thank you. Midnight snacks with a ghost. So late at night, I'm always hungry and go to the kitchen to get a midnight snack. Several strange things have happened to me at night while I've been in the kitchen, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I'm a senior in high school right now, and the first time something what I believe to be paranormal happened in my house was in early December of my 8th grade year. It was after 11, and I was getting a late night snack from the kitchen. I grabbed a plate out of the cabinet, but I hadn't shut it yet. Our cabinets are super hard to close. You have to shut them with some force, or otherwise the latch won't catch it, and they bounce back open again. I distinctly remember thinking I just closed it on my way out, so then I turned to face the other way to get my food, and immediately, the cabinet door slammed shut. I quickly turned around and it was, indeed, closed. I was getting a little scared and more shocked than anything, so I got my plate and got out of there. Fast forward to earlier this year. Again, I'm in the kitchen and it's past midnight. I'm sitting there quietly enjoying my ice cream. All of a sudden, I heard a noise coming from the little room right next to my kitchen. My initial reaction was it was a roach or some bug that I was going to have to kill, so I was freaking out mostly because of that. However, after a few seconds, I calmed down to really listen to the sound and what the sound might be. It was the sound of, picture the noise that fabric from a couch or bed makes when someone sits on it. The noise it makes as it scrunches under someone's weight. That is exactly what it sounded like. It was as if someone was sitting down on the couch in there and moving around a lot to try and find a comfortable position. The second time it happened, I stayed put, even though I really wanted to leave, so I could be absolutely positive of what I was hearing, and that it wasn't something explainable or my imagination. The third time it happened, I was out of there. Fast. In my house, we have a few motion detectors. I have no idea why. When it detects any kind of motion, a red light comes on, and it makes an audible clicking noise, staying on for about 5 seconds and then clicks off. There's one in our dining room, which is another room right next to the kitchen, which we never use. It's more of a storage area, and has a ton of papers and old family pictures spread out everywhere. A couple weeks ago, around 1 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., I was sitting at the table eating. All of a sudden, I heard the click of the motion detector, I completely froze in my seat. Although I'm 100% positive about what room it came from, in my mind, I was trying to justify if it came from the hallway or something. Then I heard papers being moved, which completely scared the crap out of me. In what has to be the fastest I've ever cleaned up my mess, I put away all my food in record time and bolted all the way across the house to my room. Of course, I'm scared of those noises, but the thing that frightens me the most is turning around and seeing the thing that's making the noise. I think seeing something would be completely worse than just hearing it. After the last incident, I'm too afraid to go to the kitchen at night, a huge sacrifice for me to make. I don't know what to make of these strange noises because it's not like they're every night, only once in a while. And my house does make a lot of weird popping noises that I'm pretty sure is just the house. So I know the difference between these sounds and the house itself.